I am good. Happy to be here. Happy to share my story and all the good things.
All the good things. I'm so glad you're here. I could already tell we're gonna have a great time. You just light up the screen. This is gonna be so much fun. I could already tell. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and your career journey and invite us in and let us know a little bit more about Aisha?
Sure. I actually just finished up my 20 years of active duty in the Air Force. So last year, this time I was retired. So I'm going into about a year now retired. My first 6 years in the Air Force, I was radio maintenance. Decided I didn't want to be cold out in Alaska anymore and didn't want to be hot in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I decided it's time for a career change. So I moved over to military HR. So I did that for the last 14 years in my career. Then, of course, transitioned out of the military. It started in a skill bridge in May, and then I've been with my current company for about just over a year now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank
Oh,
you for
and I'm
your
sorry.
service.
I'm also a military spouse. So my husband, he's still active duty. He's in the army and military brat. So I moved around quite a bit in the military and always said I would not join the military. And here I am, 20 years retired and now back in the civilian workforce.
Yeah, so you're a triple winner. You're a
Yes.
triple winner. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear about what you do and how veteran hiring contributes to a more diverse workforce in terms of skills, experience, and perspectives. I think a lot of people, when we hear DE and IMB, sometimes I would say oftentimes, military folks and military spouses are overlooked in that category.
Right. For me, I'm a diversity sourcing manager. I kind of build strategy into how can we be a more inclusive, diverse in Cummins. So the thing is a year or 100 plus years ago, Cummins came on the scene. So we're about 100 plus year old company, and they came on the scene and they got it right away. As far as even the owner of it, they marched with Martin Luther King. So they've always been on that track of not only saying it but actually living it. What I do, I just came on a year later after my boss, he's Marine, and he brought me on, and I just kind of built what was already here at Cummins, and just being more, I guess, intentional on how can we bring diversity into Cummins. So I work in this space. Kind of upping the numbers in military. And since I've been here a year, I've kind of filled it out. How can we bring more women? How can we bring more neurodiverse? How can we just as a whole be a more diverse company? So something that was already here, I'm just building on what was already here prior to what was to what was already here at Cummins. For us, a big part again, I think in my particular position, one being a military brat, being a radio maintenance for my first 6 years, I think it gave me an opportunity to not only to see a multitude of different ways um, that people can contribute. So my 6 years as radio maintenance and then going into HR, it um, makes me makes me more, I'll say, curious about what are the other jobs that the Air Force does, or what are the other jobs that the Army does, or what are the other jobs that these people do. So my job has always been to find the talent, that hidden talent, and how can we synergize that area of talent that may not have been looked at before. And then being an advocate for not only the military, but hey, hiring manager, is this something that you want to do? And this is what the military brings to the table. So in a nutshell, that's me. That's what my
Yeah,
job encompasses.
that's so amazing. And I love it's almost poetic that you were radio and then also now like human resources and connecting people and communication in that way. I think that's just a beautiful part of your story.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good because I, even in my job now, I'm able to work with other parts. I don't just work with TA. I work with other areas when we go out on career fairs. I get to work with the technicians that actually are doing the job. And hey, how does that look? Because I can only do so much in my role as HR. I'm not out there doing the job. So it's always best to get somebody else's purview or perspective and then build from their perspective and be able to, share with candidates. This is what you're going to be doing and all those different things. So
Yeah. And so as you bring these folks on and you're discovering these talented folks, what unique qualities and attributes do veterans bring to the workplace that enhances diversity and inclusion efforts, would you say?
So we talk about a lot about that's a really good question. So we talk about a lot of leadership. We talk about being able to build teams. We talk about all those different things. For me, I think the biggest attribute that military members bring is we are able to analyze a story or analyze the situation at hand and be decisive and make a decision. Sometimes it can be hard going into a situation if you're not used to that. We're empowered. If you think about it, a lot of people, if they're coming out of the military straight out of school, they're 17 and 18. They're given empowerment like right off the bat. For instance, me, I was radio maintenance my first 6 years. When I was writing my resume, I I was in awe at the things that I saw that I did as a 20, 21-year old turning wrenches in that are going in the air, that are going to do all these different things. And I'm like, man, they trusted little old Aisha to fix this radio and that it would actually work at the end of this. And by the way, I only had 8 months of schooling to learn how to do it, but I did it. So it's
Mm,
things like that. Again, I'm radio maintenance. You think about other people that have like jobs that are like in precision and the weight of the responsibility that's given to military members at a young age, you can't get that anywhere else. So that is one thing for sure that you're going to get with most, whether they did 4 years or whether they did 6 years, or whether they did 30 years. There was somewhere at some point that airman, that soldier, that anybody, they had to make decisions and sometimes they had to make them quick. So many attributes, but that is a huge one is being able to make decisions that are sometimes hard and they're able to make them or we're able to make them. So biggest attribute is definitely being decisive.
yeah. And that having the confidence to be able to make clear decisions and own a leadership quality, a lot of people are not comfortable doing that right out of the
At
gate.
all. At all. And I'll go to it a little more. We'll talk about teams, but that's another huge one is teams. We're not given the option to, oh, I don't like this job. I'm gonna go home or I'm gonna go get another job. No, this is your team. Figure
Hmm.
it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. That's a really great point because like this is the scenario, these are the people, they're not going anywhere. You got to figure this out. So when you're working in a team here in the workforce, that that I imagine is an amazing opportunity for people that are there, boots on the ground, willing to figure out how to make these relationships work, how to make these decisions work. Like you said, with when you have a diverse team and there's folks that are from different backgrounds, whether they're, maybe they're neurodivergent, maybe they're, have a military background, maybe they don't. But
Maybe they
these folks
don't.
that, yeah, so these folks are willing to work with all these different types of people. Can you talk more about that team effort and what maybe some of the things you witnessed in that with some of the military folks?
So I did a deployment. So I'll talk about my deployment here. I went to Iraq. I'm Air Force. I deployed with we call it a joint service. So I was with the Army. I was with the Navy. I was with didn't have Space Force then, but I was with Marines. So I was at a joint S1 shop, HR shop, and we all worked together. So that was one aspect of it. And then Iraq, going to Iraq, they make us do culture training. So you're going to you need to learn the culture. You need to know what you're getting into, and you need to kind of engulf yourself in that environment. You need to learn how to say, hi, hello, goodbye, thank you, those different things. Those are things that you need to learn if you're going over there. That isn't something that you would get the opportunity to do. Like if you're on the civilian side, you may move from, different states and different things like that. But that's another aspect that you're looking at that you're getting with military is we're able to move with the environment that we're in and able to, if this is the team that we're given, then we're going to find out the strengths on each person that's on the team, and we're going to work to those strengths. I remember working with an individual, and after, hindsight's 2020, after looking back, I was able to kind of tell what he he wasn't very good at maybe communicating, but he was really good with numbers. So I was
Mm,
like, we're going to capitalize on that. Like that's your strength. This is what we're going to do. And being able to find those strengths, again, you're going back to how can I empower somebody? How can I find that hidden talent and empower them with that? So you're looking at with that with the military, removing those biases. Ooh, this person isn't very social. And whereas a person may be like, ooh, they're not very social, they're not very friendly. No, that's not the case. Maybe they have some other things going on. And talk to them, get to know them. That's another thing in the military. You, again, this is the team that you're given. If you're deploying, this is the team that you're given. Take the time out to learn about them and find out their strengths. So yeah, just talking back again, talking about that piece. You're not able to quit. So in the civilian world, that's another thing. You're not going to find very many people that are going to be they given a challenge and they're not going to live up to that challenge.
yeah.
Again, another strength that maybe you could find in others, but you know that you're going to find pretty much in a military member. Again, whether they did 4 years, whether they did 30 years, you're going to find that they're going to stick to something. And if they are given a team that may be a little rough, but they're going to find the strengths and they're going to make it work because there's a mission to be done. So,
Mm-hmm. I love that because at the end of the day, it's what we would all want is for people to find the best in us and that we would find the best in other people. I love the example you said about, oh, they, don't talk much, so they're unfriendly, right? Those are two different things. One is maybe the fact is that they don't talk that much. Two is a judgment. And
yes.
what you're talking about is removing that judgment. And I love what you said of like working towards each other's strengths. Like, I'm just going to put that on a poster above my computer because that's what we should all be doing for each other. And it's awesome to hear.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So, so cool. And identifying it too, like you said, that is a skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you have these folks, what specific strategies or initiatives can organizations implement to, let's say, effectively attract, recruit, and most importantly, perhaps retain veterans and veteran spouses, thereby enhancing diversity in the workplace?
So I'm just going to read off of a list that I kind of compiled over here. And this is things that maybe Cummins does, maybe either other places, other companies may do, but these are huge parts that I think play into when you're talking about attracting veterans. So of course, career fairs. I know a lot of people don't like them, but yes, we need to go out to career fairs and invest that money. Something that I have found that is very helpful is not me always going to the career fairs and not only recruiters always going to the career fairs. Like, who is local in that area that works for your company that can go out and talk to veterans? Because it's twofold. One, the veteran gets to see your company, and two, you get to speak to veterans. Like, this might be your first encounter with a veteran ever, or this might be, hey, my dad or my grandpa was in the army. I never served, but this is my chance to give back in my own way. And then it's that buy-in. I always look back to the buy-in. How can I get everybody involved? Not just the recruiter and the sourcer doing all the work, but how can I get this hiring manager involved to fill their role? Like, it is a team effort. And hiring manager, hey, here's an opportunity for you to speak with veterans, or here's an opportunity to you to fill your position. And while you're filling your position, let's make it wholesome and let's get other people. Maybe they're not a good fit for your position, but maybe they're a good fit for one of your teammates. Maybe they're a good fit for somebody else in Cummins. Maybe they're not a technician, they're an HR person. Do they have the culture of Cummins? So there's always a way that somebody in that career fair, not just the recruiter or the sourcer, but other people, get them involved and get them to have the buy-in with veterans. We talk about these aspirational goals and we talk about all these things that were military friendly and things like let's let's put our money where our mouth is and actually go out there and do things that are, going to give you an opportunity to engage with veterans and get their story. I talk about a lot of a lot about the active duty or the veterans, but obviously we know that the military spouses and their dependents are a huge part of that. Like they're gaining these all types of skills within their right as they're moving, and sometimes they go overseas, they're not able to work, so they're at home, maybe taking care of children, and they're definitely starting to learn how to manage time, and they're doing logistics right there at home. So and not to take away from their time management that they're learning and the logistics that they're learning. So just always encouraging, everybody has something that they're doing, and if they stepped away from work, that's fine, but I'm pretty sure that they're doing something that has something to do with some sort of soft skill where they're talking with teachers. Maybe their little Johnny is acting up in school. They got to go talk to the teacher, and they have to do some type of compromising and trying to figure out how they're going to make it work. That's team. It's a collaboration. So again, not taking away from the talent or the things that they bring to the table as well. So another one, SkillBridge. SkillBridge is huge, and I heard the speaker prior to, he was talking about SkillBridge. A hiring manager, again, you have all these requirements for a particular role. SkillBridge can be up to 6 months. So maybe you have a person that's high on electronics, but they may not know the mechanical part of things. So for 6 months, you have a chance to have that person that has electronics, and you have 6 months to train them up to do the electronics part. So that's a win-win. You're getting somebody to meet the requirements. They know this part very well, and they have the aptitude. They can learn this other skill. So in 6 months, then there you have it. You have your candidate or your person that can fill that role. Our company, we work with Hiring Our Heroes. That's actually how I got my job on for 12 weeks. And we do that in the experienced. And it's really good or easy to find diversity in like the technician area and things like that. But it's harder to find that mid-range. So we brought on Hiring Our Heroes to kind of fill in those mid-range where diversity may have been not as high as we would want them. So that was a way of us making sure that we hit those numbers there. Again, utilizing job posts, not only the scrape that everybody loves, but there's some roles, they don't have the XML feeds and those different things. So actually going out there, manually doing those posts, because believe it or not, we like that. We like to see the job posts on different things. So something that takes a little more time on the resources and the recruiter or the sourcer, but it is a huge payoff to go on and do a manual post to different job posts that maybe you have partnerships with, and the dividends will pay back doing that. Because again, we like to see job posts, and we like to see that, they actually want us to work at their company. So they took the time to actually manually post this. That means something different. Tapping into SkillBridge, job posts, and again, huge career fairs. And even if you can't do them on, in person, they have virtual, COVID brought a great practices. So there are tons of virtual career fairs that you can almost also tap into.
Including one here tomorrow.
There it is. Exactly.
I love
Exactly.
that. So many great resources in there. So once you have brought in veterans at Cummins, and maybe you can speak to your own experience, how do you feel that sense of belonging and community as a veteran?
Goes back to practicing what you preach. We have a VERG that is very engaging, very present. One team member, I won't say his name, maybe he's on here, but one team member, he goes out to like a lot of our career fairs. And it's just good, again, when you're able to give back. And then for myself, coming onto the team, I love the way that Hiring Our Heroes did it, where they allowed like a mentorship type thing, so that we have an internal one where we can, talk to people. And so every other week, meet with a transitioning service member and meet with the hiring manager. And we do that in a few of our other hiring alternative programs as well. And it's just keeping that communication open. And then it's cohort based, which means everybody's coming in together. So you're building a team. I could talk a little bit about it, but we have Repower, where individuals that have been out of work for 2 years or at least 2 years it could be up higher than that, but at least 2 years out of work, and then they're coming back into the civilian workforce, or they're coming back into the workforce. And the team comes in together. So we have a team of 10 or a team of 20 that actually go through the 6 months together. So they're not only going through the same situation. Hey, I have this situation. Does anybody else have this situation? And then we meet with the managers that are like, hey, I have this situation. Is there anybody that can talk to this? Or, hey, is there something that we can do here? So always having that community. I think community is very important. Again, we're coming from the military, so we're used to camaraderie, we're used to teams. I felt it recently where it was like, ooh, I think that's probably the only thing I miss from the military, but just having that sense of team and that camaraderie is really big. And I think everybody kind of feels that coming out of the military, and they're looking for that. So it's important, like even as you're doing job hunting, or even if you're the company, is to make sure that you're building a work. If you're saying that you're, a company that is veteran friendly and all those different things, then make sure you have a work that's very out there, and they're doing things to make sure that they're building that camaraderie team thing that we miss when we leave the military. So
Yeah, that's really important because we are, so much of how I view myself is in relationship to the people around me, right? And it's reflected back at me when I am around people that are important to me, that share my values. I can see a
and that
little bit.
share your experiences, just
Yeah.
somebody like, oh, they know what I'm talking about here. When I say I've just whatever, just knowing that you have somebody there that they know what you've been through. So it's like, it makes it a lot easier to open up and to find ways that may be able to help, helpful as you transition out of the military.
Yeah, to open up. And that makes me think about psychological safety, right? It's like I can
Yes.
share and I know I'm not going to be judged because this
Yes.
person already understands what I'm talking about.
Yep. And I like the way that we have it set up is the managers aren't invited to the cohort, to the participants. They're not invited. So it's kind of like it's a safe space for for the participants to talk through things, and talk about this was a best practice. This is where I'm having a hiccup. This is where I'm kind of feeling kind of, ooh, I don't know what to do in this situation. So it's a safe space for them to really talk about different things that are made that's going on. And the same way with the hiring manager, of course, the uh, their person isn't going to be there. It's just the hiring manager is able to just have that talk, like, okay, this is a best practice. This is what has helped us, or hey, this might be a motivational piece for them. Yet if they're a veteran, then they can maybe help a person that isn't a veteran, doesn't have that tie. That's like, hey, this is what helped me out in this situation. Maybe it'll help for you.
I love that. I love that level of safety of and I like how you put that they're not invited. I love that.
They're not
It's like
invited.
they are not invited. And for veterans, like speaking about things that weren't working for you, that's also like a new thing that you're getting to experience, I imagine. And if
Right.
like your higher ups, you would never do that in the room with them. But now this is this freedom that you are enabling people to and empower them to feel safe.
Right.
Yeah, that's really unique, I would say. What was that like for you? Maybe the first time you got to do things that were like, oh, I didn't get to do this in the military, but now I'm encouraged to do this and speak up about what's on my mind. What was that like?
The biggest thing in the military, we learn how to say no in a way that I don't think others may have learned how to say it. So I think that works in my advantage is if something just isn't going to work, then I can, and maybe it might be the HR in me as well. I don't know. But able to offer solutions, not just say no, but to offer solutions, not just leave somebody in the dark like, hey, I don't know the answer, or I can't do it, let me find somebody else for you. And I think that's something that a lot of the military side brings, is we're not just going to say no. If we don't know, we'll find somebody that can find it. And I did a lot of that in my year, coming out of Cummins. People would ask me questions, I had no clue what it meant, but I went and dug and I found an answer for them. So huge difference in between at that part. Just me having that instillment in me that's like, if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna go find it. Or if it's a no, then let me find a solution that may work for you. So I think that that's done me well in that area. And then again, my boss, he's a Marine, so it was really good with him because he could relate to me, or even when I would ask him things and maybe he didn't know, he was really good at always getting an answer back to me.
I love that. There's this resourcefulness. And again, coming back to camaraderie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to fail. Like we don't it, and it's not only we don't want to fail, we don't want our coworker, our comrade, we don't want them to fail. So, hey, if I don't know it, let me help you find your answer to this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. In it to win it.
Yes.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's it. Yes, that is it. And then another thing with Cummins is the we hire to develop. So again, capitalizing on this is what you can do. It sounds like we can get you to where you need to be. So you'll see it all over our site. Is we're hired to develop, and it was good a breath of fresh air, quite honestly, coming into Cummins is knowing they were really big on hired to develop. Or even if you didn't want to do that job, Aisha didn't want to go out in the cold in Alaska, then we could retrain you. That's pretty much what Cummins is like. Hey, if you don't want to turn wrenches and you don't want to be a technician anymore, you want to be HR, we can train you. If you're a great worker and we don't want to lose you, we want to retain you, we can train you how to do that. So
I love that. And where are you based now, Aisha?
we are based in Columbus, Indiana, but I
Okay.
am in the humble abode here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I work from home.
Oh, lovely. Yes, definitely a little warmer than your previous locations.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Aisha, this has been so wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to impart? Maybe some advice for folks that have been listening in that you'd like to share before we sign off?
Biggest thing is if there happens to be companies on the line, obviously we want to make sure that we are going out to the websites. There's tons of websites out there that can share like the person MOS if they were in the military and they're me at 3 Foxtrot. There's sites out there that can share with you like what that person can do as they're bringing those transferable skills over. And again, in military member that's trying to figure out how those transferable skills use those resources, there are so many resources out there for us now. My dad, back in 1980 something, when he retired, 1990 something, he did not have these resources. So really lean in on those resources, military person, and really lean in on those resources, company that wants to bring in that talent of the military members.
Awesome. And how can folks stay connected to you?
Oh, I'm not on there. So we do have I don't think I have a chat here, so I can't drop it in there. Let's see if I can. Nope, I can't drop it in there. So first we have a diversity.recruitment at Cummins.com. And then, or even on my LinkedIn. If you have questions, you can go to my LinkedIn. But the first one, diversity.recruitment at Cummins.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn and you see my name right there, Aisha Myrick will pull me up.
Amazing. Aisha Myrick, thank you so much for making the time today. It was so lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Take care now.